Hello friends, it's Stamp Ventures with Shauna, Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan, Canada. Welcome to my Tuesday tutorial on Tuesday, May 16th of 2023. I'm just seeing if I can get hooked up to, or linked up to the feed in my iPad, and then I might be able to see some comments or questions that come through. Welcome, welcome. If you've had a chance to join in, give us a shout, say hello, let us know where you're watching from, let us know what the weather's been like. Oops, I gotta turn my iPad on to silent there. There we go, so we don't get any feedback. And yeah, if you have anything else to share with us today, yeah, my funny to start off and share with you is the soup of the day, which is pie. I thought that was kind of cute, a little bit funny, and it worked really well because I'm already getting ready for my class next month in June, and I'm going to focus on cards for guys. And the stamp set that I'll be using for next month's class is this one called Super Cool, which does happen to have some pie in it. I thought the Super Cool stamp set would work well for guy cards because, you know, not all guys golf, not all of them fish. Not every single guy rides a motorcycle, but they all like to eat. And there's some pretty yummy foods here. So I'm going to be using this for my next month class in June. If you're in the area and would like to join me, get in touch and I can put you down on the registration list. And if you're from out of town and you'd like a takeout package for the class, be in touch with me as well. So we'll move along from Super Cool to, as I said, the topic of interest is always weather when you live in a place like Saskatchewan. So I've got the weather report already. I've finally gotten back into it because I've missed it for about the last 3 weeks. Today's weather is Dairy Queen weather. It is absolutely hot and summery out there. We skipped spring completely. We went from cold and snowy to hot and summery. And so, yep, it's Dairy Queen weather, and today's weather is brought to you by the Share a Milkshake stamp set on page 54 of our new annual catalog. So I hope if you're in the Saskatchewan area that you've been enjoying the nice warm weather. The only sad part of it is that there are some really terrible forest fires happening in BC and Alberta, and all this hot weather is not helping them at all. So hoping that at some point we'll get some rain here to really help out with those forest fires. They've had to evacuate a lot of people, and that's not been good. Okay, so we'll get down to Confetti-grams. Some of you may have seen my little pre-video where I was talking about how on the weekend I was involved with a Facebook online stamping event with a few different demonstrators from across Canada. And I demonstrated how to make confetti-grams. And they're fun. Basically, the cardstock is enclosed in one of our clear envelopes, and you fill it with confetti or sequins on the one side, the side with the images, and then on the other side, you have a place to write your message and the address. Once you've sealed it shut, then there's a place to put a stamp there and pop it in the mail. And somebody asked me after I had done my presentation on the weekend, well, do you think you could make Christmas confetti-grams? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely you could. So today I'm going to attempt one. I haven't even done a test run on it or anything. We'll experiment with it and see how it goes. And you'll learn along the way how I some tips about what I've found for doing these confetti-grams. So this is one that I made using the Queen Bee stamp set. It's not available, it's not showing as available in our new catalog, but it's still available as an online exclusive. So if you're wondering where that stamp set is from, check the online exclusives. Yeah, so there's the one of the ones that I showed for the event on the weekend. And then I thought, okay, well, Father's Day is coming in June. And so I pulled out my He's All That stamp set. And, well, actually, I guess this isn't so much of a Father's Day one as it is a guy happy birthday one. So, because it does say happy birthday to a classic. And hello, handsome. And this is what it looks like on the back. So the place to write the message, the place for the address. And yeah, how fun to get something like this in your mailbox. And then the last one, one of the last ones that I showed them on the weekend was I did a technique called retiform, and it's where you create this grid and you use sticky notes and blending brushes. And for this one, I used the Quiet Meadow stamp set. And yeah, and then that's, oops, I did the back of this one upside down. But yeah, place to write your message and to write your address. And I'm thinking, if you do these as Christmas cards, how fun is that? It'll make it really stand out and be different from anything else that people get in the mail at Christmas. So I'm going to work on coming up with Christmas images tonight. And I've pulled out some of my thick vanilla, very vanilla cardstock. You don't have to use vanilla depending on what color scheme you use. You can use basic white as well. I would suggest though that you use the thick version of the vanilla and the white because it'll just stand up a little bit better in the mail. If you're using colored cardstock, it seems to be thicker to begin with anyways. So yeah, the thick versions work well for this. I'm getting ahead of myself here. The dimensions for this are just a little different. When you looked at these cards, you probably thought, oh yeah, that's just a quarter of a sheet of 8.5 by 11 cardstock. And you could use that, but what I found is if you make it just a tiny bit bigger on either side, excuse me, then you don't have to worry about the sequins or the confetti wrapping around the corner and getting in the way of the address on the other side. So I'll show you how I was cutting my paper. It's a little bit different. So to start with, I was cutting it, instead of at 4 1/4, I was cutting it at 1/8 of an inch more. So at 4 3/8. So if you've got one of the trimmers like I do, it's like 2 little lines, 2 little snickets over. So 1, 2. I don't know what a snicket is, but that's what I'm calling it. And so that's the one way. And then the other way, you start at 5 1/2. And again, you move it over so that it's 2 snickets bigger, so that it's 5 5/8. So just a little bit larger than normal. So you do have extra paper that, well, you have to, put it in your scrap bin and use it for another project. But that's going to make sure that your Confetti-gram, the cardstock in it, fills right to the very edges of the clear envelope, and then none of your confetti or sequins goes over to the other side. So now I'm going to do some stamping, but yeah, first of all, I'm going to start with some blending brush work. And I have grabbed here a 3 by 3 sticky note. And I'm going to attempt to put that in the middle of my piece of cardstock here. Sometimes I'm confident in eyeballing it, and then other times like, oh, I don't know how close that is to the middle. I'm going to get out my ruler and see if it's somewhat straight. So I'm creating a mask here. I used to do this kind of stamping all the time when I first started stamping and we didn't have dies and things. We did all kinds of cool techniques with masks and sponges. Let's see, that's about 3.2 centimeters, and that's about 3. Oh, heavens, close enough. Wowzers. All right, and I've got crumb cake stamping pad here and a blending brush. And I think some of you have maybe seen me use the blending brush before. When you load it up with ink, you want to brush a little bit off to begin with because it's very strong with color and you don't want to get a huge blotch when you start on your project. So take off that excess color and then just do nice soft circles with a blending brush. And I'm going to create a soft brushed crumb cake square all around the edge here. And that's where the focal point of my card is going to be. Okay, so now as I'm looking at my square, it's like, oh, now it doesn't seem all that straight. Oh, well. I'm going to be stamping a whole bunch of other images around the edges. So hopefully with the extra stamping that I do around the edge, that'll help to not draw or take away, take the eye away from if it's not quite straight. All right. I've been using a lot of the crumb cake and early espresso color combinations with my Confetti-grams because I like the vintage look that it has. But you can use whatever color combination that you like. You may have noticed with this Happy Birthday Classic car one, I used Balmy Blue and Night of Navy here for that one. These two, I used the crumb cake and the early espresso. So depending on if you want it more subtle and vintage looking or if you want it to be bright and cheery. There. Okay. Whoops. I should hold that down. Don't want the paper to go too crazy and wild, and then my sponging will, or my blending brush, my inking will not be quite where I want it. So now I'm going to do some more stamping, and I'm going to use the crumb cake. I've got, I guess I did not show you the stamp set that I've grabbed here. Since I'm doing Christmas, I pulled out one that has a Christmas greeting. It's got Merry Christmas and a wreath. I'm going to be using this wreath that's, the thin branches for the center of my card. And then I'm going to be using this branch here and some of the pine needle branches just to do some stamping around the edge and scatter a collection of images. And I'm going to stamp off and then stamp on because I find that the full strength crumb cake is just a little too overpowering. So I liked it a little bit better when I stamped off. So again, depending on what kind of look you want with your Confetti-gram, you might or might not stamp off. Let's see. There. Don't want it to look too bare. There. Maybe I'll call it good for that stamp. Now I'll pull in these little pine branches. And maybe if I'd wanted to introduce a color, I could have maybe used green here too. But I'll stick with this for now. Some people call this second generation stamping. So the full strength color is the first generation, and then the second time that I stamp is the second generation. Okay, I think I could probably fit a little bit more over there. And there too. Okay, so I'm done with the crumb cake for now. I'll close that up. And I'm going to pull the early espresso, and here's the magic of the mask. I take that off, and there's a perfect little frame for me to create my focal point. And sometimes when I'm doing these, I will cut the sticky note down so it's not quite so big. But because this wreath is pretty much a circular, I need to have kind of that more squarish shape as opposed to a rectangular shape. So, I think I'm going to do, originally I was thinking I would do early espresso with the wreath. I think I'm going to do crumb cake and then maybe use the early espresso for the Merry Christmas in the middle so it'll stand out a little bit more. Okay, we'll see how, maybe I won't like this idea, but I'll give it a go. I just remembered that if I can find it, I'm using a photopolymer stamp, so I'm going to put this foam pad underneath just to get a little bit more push with the clear photopolymer. And there we go. There's our wreath in the middle. And now, yeah, I think I'm done with the crumb cake. And I'll stamp the Merry Christmas in the middle. Then I'm going to just do a little bit more decorating around the wreath because I'm going to pull in a bow and some berries. Merry Christmas. There we go. Oh yeah, that's definitely a lot deeper, isn't it? And darker than the crumb cake. Sets it off a little bit. Okay, so a bow and some berries. You can see those here and here on the cottage wreath stamp set. And, oh, I was dilly-dallying about this. I think I'm going to use cherry cobbler. I'm sure real red would be nice too. I don't know if there's one that would be better than the other, but I'll try the cherry cobbler for now. And I'm going to offset my bow a little bit to the side. Guess you're going to see a little bit of that branch. Wonder if it could go down there too, I suppose. Or it could go there. Now I'm starting to second guess putting, oh no, that's what I want to do. I want to turn the bow sideways. I think that's how I'm going to do it, but it could go at the bottom too. Maybe even here. Oh, just stamp it, Shauna. Commit. There we go. Sometimes it's hard to make decisions, isn't it? All right. Okay. Now I'm going to take and add some berries around and about. So some there. I could maybe do second generation berries too if I wanted to, but we'll stick with full strength ones. This is a very buried wreath. Now I'm like, oh, maybe I'm putting too many on here, but there we go. That makes it more cheery and bright with lots of berries on it. And now, one more thing I think I'd like to do is I'm going to grab my Wink of Stella glitter brush and just add a little bit of sparkle to the berries. Ooh. I'm just realizing if I color outside the lines of the berries with the Wink of Stella, it's causing the cherry cobbler to bleed a little bit. So I have to kind of keep my hand controlled here and not color too violently. Just add a little dab of. The other thing that I was showing the ladies on the weekend that you can do with a Wink of Stella brush, which is kind of a fun thing, is once you've got it opened like this, you can squeeze the barrel and get a whole bunch of the glittery. Ooh, not that much. That's too much. That was a whole bunch. Okay, but I can still use this. So I can pick up that ink and I can put the Wink of Stella brush into the lid and do some flicking onto my project. So you get a really neat sort of distressed, vintagey look from the flicking too. So that's another thing that you can do with Wink Castella. They're great, these brushes. So yeah, I didn't really mean to make that much come out, but I can still use it. There we go. There, okay. So now I'm done with that side for now. I've kind of got a vintagey looking wreath on one side, and on the other side I'm going to create the place where you write and address it. I think I better put this in the garbage because it's pretty wet and it's all winked up. I'll grab another. Here we go. Grab another mini grid sheet. I'm missing these mini grid sheets because they're just the perfect size for my videos. I sure hope Stampin' Up! Is able to bring another version of the Stamparatus back and some more mini grid sheets because I really like them. Okay, so turning this over, I want to create a dividing line so that there will be a place to write the messages and then another place to write the address. So I will grab, where did I put that? Here we go. I've got a great big sticky note. These are big ones. You can write lots on them. And I'm going to put this down the middle. Let's see if I can do it somewhat straight by lining it up with the lines on the grid sheet. So I'll put it like, close to the middle, maybe slightly a bit more to the right. Like that. And that's going to help me to stamp my line straight. And because this particular sticky note also has lines, writing lines on it, it'll also help me to maybe line up, you know, where I'm stamping my image. Every third line or something, I'll be able to stamp it. Oh my goodness, did you see that? Yeah, I just put it right in there. Ooh, and all kinds of coordination here today. Okay, here we go. So how many? That's about 3 little lines on the sticky note, and then, oh well, there we go. Guess it doesn't really matter how many lines, but just the edge of the note sheet will keep me going straight. And while I've still got lines there, I can do one more thing with the lines. I can draw with my ruler the place where the address is going to go. That seems pretty narrow, doesn't it? Ooh, you might want to move your sheet over just a little bit to give you a little bit more space to draw lines. I've was using the early espresso ink here. Unfortunately, my early espresso marker is all dried out. I'm going to have to get a new one. So for now, I'm just going to use a basic black. And the fine tip end of this, it's a Stampin' Write marker. If you do any coloring or any marker work on these, because they're only one layer, you'll want to use Stampin' Write markers, not our Stampin' Blends, because Stampin' Blends will bleed through, and yeah, then either the bleeding will bleed through onto the design side, or else if you're coloring on the image side, then it'll bleed through onto the writing side of the Confetti-gram. So this is a job for the Stampin' Write markers. And then finally, I thought it was always fun to put a little thing up in the corner so you know where to put the stamp. Not that people don't know where to put the stamp, but it's just kind of fun to have that little something to indicate it. So I'm going to grab this teeny tiny little set of, what are those called? Those, they're the prickly Christmas branches. The holly. Are they the holly? Yeah, I think they're like the holly branches. Okay. And I'm going to stamp, let's see. Maybe I'll do it in crumb cake. So just do a little bit of a holly branch there. And while I've still got my red open, my cherry cobbler, I'll come back in and put a few little berries there. There we go. So that'll show that that's to where the stamp goes. My goodness, I feel like I'm getting ink all over. All right. So now we're all set. Well, not quite. If you were making these to go out as Christmas cards, you could slide them into the envelope, the clear envelopes if you want. Stampin' Up! On the same page as our white and vanilla envelopes also has clear medium envelopes. And you get like 50 in a pack. They're really quite inexpensive. And they work perfect to make these confetti-grams. Oops, let me open this one up. Thought maybe I had another package that around here that was already open, but I can't find it. So we'll get started with this. So you could save your confetti-gram in the sleeve, the clear envelope sleeve, but I suggest that you don't put your confetti into it until after you've done all the writing, because you're going to have to pull it out to do the writing. And when you pull it out, the static from the plastic will make the confetti go all over the place and maybe not where you want it. So yeah, you might want to do your writing on it first, and then before you go to put it in the mail, you'll slip it in, your writing will be all on there, and then you'll pull out your confetti. Well, what am I using for confetti? Right now on the clearance rack, there are some sequins for everything, and they're from like a catalog, not last year's, but the year before, I believe. They are on a really, really good deal. You get a package like this with 4 different color combinations, and I think they're marked down to something like $6.50, something like that. If you want me to order you some, I'm going to be just closing up an order tomorrow or the next day. I could throw them on for you. But yeah, really, really good price. And I've got some here that I've already opened and have been into. And you can see I've been making lots of confetti-grams because the colors are going down. Or yeah, the pile of sequins is going down in each little container here. And I'm going to put some of them in and trying to decide if I want to use red ones. I think because I've got lots of red berries and a red bow, I think I'm going to use maybe the green and the gold for my confetti this time. So you can take like, a good pinch of each color. That's kind of what I've been doing, is like, maybe 2 small pinches or 2 big pinches or 3 small pinches, something like that. I'm going to add a few more gold in there. There we go. And then, yeah, you'll just seal it all up and it'll be ready to have a stamp popped on it and be put in the mail. So a really, really quick way to add more Christmas cards to your Christmas collection, and something fun for people to receive that's a little bit different than the usual Christmas card. So I'm not sure if I'm really happy with how I put the bow on there. I should mention that there is a die that coordinates with this set that would cut out the bow. What I've found in the past when I was putting glued on, die cut things that are glued on to the front of my confetti-gram, is that the little sequins would get stuck underneath the glued on item, and then it just wasn't as nice, like, because you couldn't shake them around. They got stuck under there and they stayed there. So it's best if you can do the whole thing, a flat stamped image. A few winks of Stella in there don't seem to catch the confetti. Yeah, there's my trial Christmas card. I think I'm going to go and try another one, maybe with a different stamp set, but these are super fun to make. In fact, they're kind of addicting. Like once I started making these first ones, the non-Christmas ones, I didn't want to stop. I wanted to keep trying different colors and, like I said, different shapes and doing some retiform. So you might want to start by actually cutting a whole stack of Whisper White or very vanilla thick cardstock at 5 5/8, so just a little bit bigger than 5 1/2, and 4 3/8, just a little bit bigger than 4 1/4, and then playing around with your sticky notes and your stamps and your inks and your blending brushes and coming up with a variety of ideas and seeing which ones that you like. So hope you get a chance to give the Confetti-gram a whirl. And if you make one, I would love to see what you come up with. I'm just checking to see if any comments have come through. I haven't seen any questions that have come up, so I can still answer questions. If you're catching the replay later, you can certainly post them in the comments on the replay, and I will try and catch them and get back to you. But thank you so much for stopping by to check out the Confetti-gram and my version of the Christmas one. And we'll be talking with you another night. In the meantime, have a wonderful week and happy stamping.